To all the women showing up even when it feels heavy. To the women chasing big dreams while juggling even bigger responsibilities. To the women rebuilding, rediscovering, and redefining themselves. To the women breaking barriers quietly, loudly, and in ways no one else sees. This is your reminder you are doing an incredible job.
You might not feel like you're there yet. You might still be figuring it out. You might be carrying more than anyone realizes, but your resilience, your courage, your voice, and your presence matter more than you know. Today and every day, we celebrate you, not just for what you achieve, but for who you are and the path you're carving for those who will follow.
Welcome to the Women's Series, where this International Women's Week, we're here to balance the scales, share real stories, and give every woman listening the opportunity to step forward with confidence, not alone, but backed by a community committed to change. I'm Hazel from Happiness Co, and in this episode, we're joined by Teagan and Anneli from the Perth Lynx. As professional athletes competing at the highest level in the Women's National Basketball League, Teagan and Anneli represent not just performance and discipline, but resilience, equality, and leadership in women's sport. In honour of International Women's Week and this year's theme, Balancing the Scales, today we're talking about equality in sport, mental resilience under pressure, and what it means to represent women on a national stage. Ladies, I am so grateful to have you here today. I'm obviously not from here, I'm from the west coast of Ireland, and I did a good bit of research on you girls and I was like in awe. Super cool. I guess the first question I have for you, which is highly relevant to International Women's Week, is what does International Women's Week or Day mean to you personally, and how does the idea of balancing the scales resonate as professional athletes?
So I think the first thing, it's important that by recognising women and giving them an International Women's Week and Women's Day, we need to do that because for the longest time women have been inferior in male-dominated fields. So it's the idea of giving a marginalized community of people, or just like even like women in general, their own platform to stand up for things. And I think that that's really important, that we recognize that giving women this platform doesn't take away from our male counterparts, but it just does balance the scales. That's what it's talking about. So I think for me it resonates in that way as a professional athlete, because we perform and we work in a male dominated arena. And as women, we are often overlooked by our male counterparts and our male supporters. But giving, a Women's Day, Women's Week, balancing the scales, it's all about tipping that back in the favour, not even in the favour of women, but just to balance it out so we are on equal playing fields and we're seen as the equals in that sport and in that arena.
Yeah, that was a great Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I will just piggyback off that, because I also think when I see the phrase balancing the scales, I also think about empowerment. So I think sometimes it's easy to get lost in this like men versus women conversation, especially as professional athletes, like Maylee said, or Anneli said, in this male-dominated field that we work in. I think it's really important to step back from that and realize that celebrating women is about empowerment. It's not about trying to one-up somebody or make a comparison or a competition, or, I think that gets lost a lot of the time when we compare or when we try and say, well, you have this and we have that and all that sort of stuff. I think the important part of being women and celebrating women is empowering women to do more and be more and have more.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Thanks a million for that. And I guess women's sport has significantly grown over the last few years, which is amazing, but we're not quite there yet. Where do you still see that the scales are unbalanced? Whether it's in like sponsorships or pay or...
All of the above, yeah. I would say. I think that obviously there's a huge pay gap. I think that's the biggest thing. As female athletes, we often have to prepare for our retirement way before we even step foot off the basketball court, because we don't have the luxury of building up enough income to give ourselves a cushion post-retirement of sport. And I think that, pay, recognition, respect, all of those things. But for me, I think that the financial compensation, the financial difference is the biggest difference between men and women's sport currently in this society.
Yeah, and I think public perception, I really truly believe that has, set the foundation for how women's sports are viewed, especially women's basketball. I think so often, because we have a sport that is directly comparable in the men's side, it's so easy to say that women's basketball is a lesser version of men's basketball instead of seeing it as its own sport. And so I think for professional female athletes, if you give respect to that sport independently of gender, I think that's when you'll see the sponsorship and the media and the pay and everything increase, because I think we're still fighting a perception where women are just kind of being dragged along when we're really our own entity, and we are a business and we can provide, and not in the same way. No one's trying to say that the numbers should be the exact same or anything like that. But I think a lot of the time, especially the kind of themes and narratives surrounding women's sports, and obviously women's basketball, because we're in that, are a little bit unjustified in the way that we get spoken about, and I think that would change so much, because I think really at the end of the day, sports is a religion in so many countries and so many societies, that if we change the respect aspect, I think the narrative would change and then everything else would follow.
Yeah, 100%. I think personally, I've been working in events for a little while, and I was seeing the women's and the male's basketball sport probably on the same day, or even like the tennis or baseball. And it kind of saddened me to see a lesser like crowd like for the women's, and then for people to almost be waiting for the rush hour for the men's.
Yeah.
But I personally enjoyed watching the women's games.
Yeah.
Like a lot more. And I think that encouraged me to watch women's sport in all different areas, like baseball then. So I think like what you were saying about respect, I think the first kind of step of respect is to show up and to actually sit down and to watch it and to gain the interest in it, because the action will follow in a way. To listen and to be seen. And I think this question does answer for itself, but have you ever felt you had to work harder to gain recognition simply because you are a woman?
Oh yeah, I get recognized more for commentating men's basketball than I do playing, which is crazy because like I'm an average commentator at best, and I'm a really good basketball player. So like
she's an Olympian.
I'm an Olympian.
She's an Olympian.
I get recognized more for the commentary that I do for the Wildcats than I do for being an Olympian. Just let that sit in.
Yeah.
Which is wild. And look, I'm really good in the media space. I put myself out there a lot. I really do. And I think part of being a female athlete, unfortunately, is knowing how to market yourself and knowing how to build a brand for yourself, because we need to put our hands up and say, we are here, listen to me, I am here, I am an athlete. I have built myself a brand to get sponsorships and to get things, but I did that myself, right? My basketball didn't build that brand for me. I built that brand for myself. So then I have since, now I do get recognized, as a basketball player, but I get recognized way more as a commentator for the men's league.
It's crazy. Yeah, but definitely very powerful to build your personal brand, especially now as well. You might know Robbie that's inside there. I know he MC'd.
Yes. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Amazing. And what about yourself? Like how?
Yeah, I think for me, this is my first year in this league, in the WNBL. It's my first year playing in Australia, and Anneli obviously has a lot more experience. So for me, I've moved around a lot for basketball, which has been a beautiful thing. I was playing over in Europe the last few years, and I think like the context of the place or the country or the environment that you're playing in really changes from season to season. So for me, I think I don't get recognized like she gets recognized. I'm also not an Olympian. So she deserves all of the hype and all the recognition. For me, I just see it more as what your achievements as a female athlete, you have to do above and beyond crazy things to get like a fraction of what a male athlete would get. And I have a perfect example of this, and this is when I meet someone and they don't know me, and they find out that I play basketball. A lot of the time their questions are about whether or not I have another job, or if I can afford to live off being a professional athlete. And if I was a man and I said I play professionally, they would never ask me that question, right? And there's you know there's a deeper kind of theme there where the money is definitely not the same in men's professional sports as it is in women's, but I think there's those little kind of targeted sort of questions where as a man you would never get asked that. If I said I play professionally and I've lived in 4 different countries and I've played professionally in 4 different countries, no one would ever ask me, oh, and you don't have to pay for that, or you can
make a living?
You can make a living off that, you know what I mean? It's just the baseline of like, you're belittling my career because you don't believe women have that power and women don't have the opportunity to do that. And I think that's bigger than just whoever that person was, because I think it comes back to how society views professional women's sports in general, because there's not enough exposure. Even this is a perfect example for someone like Anneli, because it shouldn't even be a question. She's an Olympian, like if you looked at her resume and you looked at her career and you looked at half the guys in the NBL even, they wouldn't compare. But she gets noticed because she's a commentator and chats on TV more than all of the things she does as a basketball player.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's like a really tough thing but you're constantly showing up and putting yourself out there and making that change.
I think that's important too, is something that I've really pushed the needle forward for, is like, I really do encourage all my teammates to put themselves out there. But also when I do talk to athletes that are coming through the system now, I really encourage the importance of building yourself a brand, because the product that we put out there as athletes is so good. It really is. The WNBL, women's basketball, the product is so good. It's so marketable. And if we get more eyes on it, just like, I can't wait to see where it goes. But we have to push the needle sometimes as players. We are the ones putting ourselves out there. We are using our brand. We are using our own platforms. We don't have the platforms given to us. So I think that is something that female athletes are actually a lot better at than male athletes, because they get given these platforms, whereas we create them ourselves.
Yeah, and you would have had to invest like financially, yourself to build everything that you have.
Yeah.
And is that something that you're looking to teach?
No, look, my management helps me a lot with that. So like I'm really lucky. The management group that I'm with, they're really good with commercial partnerships and things like that. But I went out and I sought that, when I signed with a management group, I wanted someone who could help me build my personal brand. So that is something that I just encourage people to dive into. And also, the worst thing about women's sports is that we tend to cut each other down because of lack of resources. I think it's like resource guarding, right? Like, there isn't enough finances, there isn't enough positions for partnerships. So women tend to tear each other down because of lack of resources, because it means if you're successful, it means I can't be, right?
The space isn't big enough.
But I think that is changing, and I think it needs to start with us building each other up a little bit more, because the more we lift each other up, the more space there's actually going to be.
Yeah, for the other girls. It's like fear, right?
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Finally got this, like, put all the work into it, and then, but we need to eliminate that work together, for sure.
And I also think that's outside of sports. Like, I think that applies to every woman ever, right? Like, I finally got in the door. I'm finally at the table. I need to hold on to this because there's no one else that looks like me right now. And I think I'm going to give a lot of credit to Anneli, because Anneli does an amazing job at creating space for other women to grow. And I think a big part of her leadership is being someone who you can look at, because I think what Anneli does that a lot of people don't give her enough credit for is she is a professional in every way. Like, her brand is her business. She's a professional athlete, but she treats everything professionally. So I think a lot of people don't understand the work that goes into that, of being the person, because the flip side of that is she also gets hate, and there's lots of haters out there, right? Especially fans of women's sports, right?
Yeah, actually.
But the professionalism is the only way you drive that forward. It's the only way that other women behind can be like, I want to be Maylee. I want to do what she's done, and I want to have the career that she has. It's not just on the court, it's off the court. And that is not, I don't think, acknowledged enough, because, like you say, there's not a huge space for it. So the people that are getting it, it's almost like the tip of the iceberg, when really on the men's side, and again, I don't want to compare, but the space is infinite in comparison.
Yeah. And they will hype each other up.
Yeah,
For like,
way more.
Well, they don't need to, because
other people do it for them.
Yeah. That is so, spot on. Yeah, and like 2026, everyone's saying build your brand, and it is competitive out there. Like, it's really, but it's amazing to see that that's something that you're helping women to. Thank you. So Happiness Co is all about well-being and mental health. So what we live and breathe for, and you girls are high performance sport athletes, and that comes with intense pressure, and it's other challenges that we just spoke about now. How do you girls manage your mental well-being?
You go first.
That's a really good question. I think it's a huge part of being an athlete. I think it's arguably more important than the physical side. And I think that's, it's a bit of a cliche because that's what people talk about, but I think that's what sets certain people apart, is the mental side. And I think it's really easy to have maybe some low moments when your value in your job comes from physically what you're doing every day. And so I think that's not to say that any other job doesn't have its own challenges. Just in my experience, I think that your physical performance day in and day out can really affect your mental health as an athlete. And I think for me, something that I've always been really sure to kind of distinguish is Teagan, who she is as a human being, and Teagan, who she is as an athlete. And I think when I was younger, I really struggled with that because my whole identity, it was so interconnected and overlapping that I couldn't separate it. So I had a bad day on court, or I had a bad day at work playing basketball, and that was who I was as a person as well. And so I spent a lot of time early on in my career really distinguishing the two, from who I am as an athlete and who I am as a person. And I think that's the biggest kind of mental health challenge that I've had in my career, because confidence is so up and down. You can have an amazing game and then have the worst game of your career the next day. So I think the biggest part for me and what's helped me is I want to make sure that the value I have as a human being stays consistent whether or not I perform as an athlete, which is so much easier said than done, because that's, part of being an athlete is the competitiveness and the highs and following all of that, momentum and all of that work that you put into it. So I think for me, the biggest thing is really just knowing who I am as a human, and reminding myself and leaning into the people who also see me as that, right? Having friends and family and teammates that are like, you're awesome, and they don't care if you make a shot or not. I think that for me is my biggest kind of like challenge, but also reward from basketball, because I really try and stay true to who I am as a human, regardless of the sports.
So, if you don't mind me asking, who are you outside of basketball? Like,
that's a good question. I think I'm a very social being. I mean, I think humans are social beings, but I'm very extroverted. I get my energy from other people, and I love positivity. I want to be positivity, and I want to be around positivity, right? So I think that for me, I'm a big energy person. Like I meet someone and I read the energy. You have great energy, and I read the energy, and I'm like, I really want to be around people who want to be happy. Because I think. That was cute. Because I think you have choice in how you show up. You can choose. Literally, when I was younger, my dad used to always say to me and my two brothers, before we went to school, choose your attitude, because it's a choice. I think you can choose how you show up, and I hope and believe that I'm someone who shows up and I'm positive and I'm kind, and I really want that to be who I am regardless of what's happening in my life. And I think in sports it makes me a better teammate, and it makes me someone that other people want to play with, because I only want to make you feel good, so I think that's for me. I just want to show up with a lot of energy, a lot of happiness, and a lot of joy, because I think everyone can benefit from that, right? Energy is contagious, and so I want to choose that energy that I bring, because I know someone else is going to pick it up, and then we're going to carry it, and we're going to have a great day.
Oh, I love that. I guess one thing I kind of reflects back about branding is I know like the identity thing that you spoke about earlier with athletes, like, you know, if you get injured and you can't play it, it really affects you because your identity is wrapped around the sport.
So true.
And I remember, you know, that's the same in like entrepreneurship. If you have a business and that fails, you're all of a sudden your purpose
Absolutely
missing. And one brand coach, he said to me, if what you do aligns with your values and who you are, then you're doing something right. Like, and so far you were saying like, oh, I like to be happy, positive, and like, you know, help other people. And then you've been like, yeah, rooting this girl.
Teagan is, when you ask, literally, like Teagan is, she is that. She is that.
I try.
Yeah.
I try.
Great. Yeah.
You know how like sunflowers turn towards the sun? That's the effect Teagan has on other people, you know?
You're so cute.
The Teagan effect.
Guys, you make me blush.
I love that. Oh, and what about yourself, Anneli? What would you say?
Look, the hard part for me is like I don't think I've figured it out yet. I don't know how to manage my mental well-being very well. I have throughout my whole career. I'm in my 8th year at the WNBL. I'm 27. Since I was 16, I was diagnosed with depression and general anxiety disorder. I've had like recent diagnosis of ADHD and OCD thrown in there. And so managing my mental well-being while I'm in a high performance sport is a constantly evolving thing for me because it changes depending on what I'm experiencing, what life stresses are thrown my way. And I think the biggest misconception is that you can't be successful while managing those things. And I have a lot of success as an athlete, and I still have depression. Like I still go see my psych twice a week, you know, so I think that for me, I don't have the answer of how I manage it, but I do have tools. Like I do lean on the people around me a lot. I lean on my teammates a lot. I lean on my coach a lot. I lean on the medical staff a lot. And then my most important, you know, tools are like going to the beach with my dog, reading, painting, making sure that I do things that really calm down my nervous system, because throughout the day, and I love training and I love my job, I love basketball, but I'm often kind of operating at a really high level of like cortisol, and I'm also adrenaline. Yeah. I'm a captain, so I'm also making sure that everyone around me is okay and all those things. So by the time I get home, it is really important that I take care of myself to wind down. And so those wind down processes would be the way that I would say that I manage my mental well-being. But I would say I have not figured it out yet, and I'm 27 and I'm in my 8th season in the league, and I'm okay with that, you know, like it doesn't take away from how successful I've been able to be, but it does mean that like I do have to give myself a little bit of extra grace, and it is something that I do communicate with my coach and the club before I even sign a contract. Hey, this is something about me you need to know. Sometimes it will take me a little bit of extra time. Please don't communicate to me in this way because it could trigger me into something. Like, I'm just very honest about it because I don't see it like I feel it's the same as communicating about like if I have an ongoing knee injury, you would communicate that before you sign a contract. I also communicate that my issues with mental health can sometimes affect me the same way a physical injury would. So yeah,
I'm really like aware as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I love that you're appreciating that you don't know exactly.
Yeah.
It's so good for people listening because it's like no matter what age you are, like people could be in that same position, and yeah, I really appreciate your honesty for that. I think
that's right.
That's where it starts. It's like vulnerability.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, heard, and yeah. So do you think that mental health and well-being is spoken enough within the women's elite sport?
I think that women's sport does it better than men's sport, and I'll say that, and I fully agree. I fully will stand by that statement. My younger brother plays AFL, and they're getting so much better, right? But they're still not where we are. And I think that women have had to deal with so much just to be where we are, that we, I think, are more understanding and more kind towards each other in those things. Like mental health is, I think, and mental health and toxic masculinity can kind of be tied in. But for women, I think we do talk about it more. I think there is still way more places to grow. I think, like I said before, like I think it can be a scary thing for a GM and a coach to hear that your player has depression and think, oh, will they be able to perform? And I think that is something that is starting to separate now. It's knowing that, okay, well, how will we support you? Not like, how will this affect our business? You know what I mean? So I think that we're doing a much, much better job. We do speak about it a lot. And I think it just takes, a couple people on each team to put their hand up and be like, hey, I've been through this. I go through this every day, and like to make it a safe space for someone to be like, hey, I'm having a hard day today. And for people to be able to step up and support them in that space.
Yeah, definitely.
I also think it's a human, like the more human we can put into everything we do, because humans need other humans, right? We're wired to lean on each other. And I think mental health can be so stigmatized.
Yeah.
And I think what Anneli's saying about, women's sports is I think it's less stigmatized. But I also think that there's this element where if you're treating someone as a business versus a human, things are going to get murky, right? So I think at the end of the day, the emphasis has to be on we're all humans, and we all go through stuff, and we all have bad days, and we all need each other. I think that's the biggest thing, and we're on a team, so we have this sort of built-in extra family, right? That most people, I think a lot of people who play sports understand this kind of dynamic where you join a team and you automatically have all these new friends, and it's not a regular, I would say, like work colleague relationship. You travel together and you go on the road, and so you sleep in hotels and you have dinner, and there's all these levels of almost intimacy in a team that you experience. And on top of that, we're all human. We all have our own lives, and we all have our own families and relationships and dogs and pets.
Yeah.
So there's always, everyone comes with a big backpack of their own stuff. And if you don't recognize that's what they're carrying and that's the human aspect of them, that's, I think, when the mental health stuff gets really murky, because then we're looked at as a, double machine, rather than who goes home and cuddles her dog,
Yeah, literally. Come on now. Yeah, obviously.
Balance.
Yeah.
It's definitely, like, it just makes people, I don't know, it's like a role model I was speaking a little bit about earlier. Like, for me, when you said OCD, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it makes me feel like, oh, like, I could do that, or it gives you, like, kind of hope and, less isolation. Because you're doing it, like, you're showing up.
Well, I think that's one of the most important things about why I speak about it so openly, because when I was younger and I first started experiencing depression, I didn't see older versions of myself. You don't look. I was into basketball. I was at the center of excellence. And I didn't see examples of successful athletes that were putting their hands up saying, I go through this. So in my head, that didn't exist. There was no successful professional athletes in my head that were also going through something that I was going through. Therefore, I couldn't exist in that space. Right. So now I hope that the more people that put their hands up to say that there's something that they're going through, there's younger versions of you that see you existing in that space, that know that they can also do that, but also that there is room for them to exist and still be successful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're like a massive catalyst for change.
Oh,
for branding,
thank you.
And
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Oh my god. And I guess this aligns perfectly is and you kind of answered it already, was what responsibility do you feel as a role model for young girls that are watching you play?
I answered that. You do that.
I think there's a healthy balance to this question, because I think female professional athletes sometimes are held to a higher standard, because I guess any public figure that's a female, I believe sometimes can be held to a higher standard. So I think the balance to this question answer is, I think there's beauty in being someone that a younger person can see and aspire to. I think that's a beautiful thing, right? I think in life we all want to have dreams, and we all want to have goals, and we all do have dreams and goals. And so to see people living out your dreams and goals is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I'm kind of a bit like Anneli in the sense of I didn't even really know you could have a professional career playing basketball. I'm from New Zealand, Wellington, New Zealand. There was never a professional league growing up. We now have something similar to the WNBL, but we never did when I was growing up there. So for me, I didn't really know that was a possibility. So that's really important. I think the flip side to that too is also that we're humans and we make mistakes. And I don't think there needs to be this, hand of judgment to women who are growing and learning and figuring themselves out at the same time. And I think sometimes that can get lost, or I think women can get punished for figuring themselves out and finding out who they are. I think that's the biggest thing. It's what we're all doing constantly. We're constantly growing. We're constantly evolving and changing and figuring out what makes us happy. And we all have feelings. We all feel. So I think there needs to continue to be a balance where it's a beautiful thing to see, all these kids wearing, Anneli Maylee's jersey, and also know that she's a human being, and to not create this godlike version of who women have to be successful. Because I think they both exist. I think you can be a super fan and absolutely love who she is as a person and an athlete, and also recognize that she's human. So one day if she walks past you and she's not like, hey, that's fine. And I think sometimes women are held to a higher standard, whereas men can do that. Because they already gain the respect. But women have to put in all this extra work to be this certain person because you're the role model. It's a balance. We're also human, We're also figuring our life out just like everybody else is.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually.
T.
I think this question I love, and it's, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say to little baby Anneli, I would say that the toughest opponent, the hardest person you'll ever have to face will be yourself. You will never, ever, ever have to go up against anything that is harder than the version of you that is trying to hold you back, or that is trying to tell you that you're not good enough, or trying to tell you that you're not enough. The toughest opponent you will have in any sport, life, anything will always be you.
Well, yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Thank you.
That was really good.
I felt that.
Yeah, hit me in my chest.
It will always be you.
Yeah.
It's gonna be me.
That was good. That was a little student coming out.
Yeah, Backstreet Boys.
What would I tell baby me? I honestly think that I would tell myself that, like, you don't even know what it could be. Because I think, again, it goes back to, like, I was so obsessed with basketball when I was in high school. I was the kid that was like in the gym every morning. Like, I really wanted to go to America and play basketball. That was like my, I wanted to go to university. That was like my dad, both our dads are American, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So my dad was always like, that's something you could do. You could get a scholarship. So I always was like very, very driven. And I didn't actually understand the world of sports in a professional context at all, in a female context at all. Because I'd only kind of seen it through the lens of men's sports. So for me, I'd probably just tell myself that, like, there's so much cool stuff out there that you don't even know exists. And I think that's the exciting thing about life, because I think that still is true now. Like, I think there's still lots of things that I don't know exist in my life that will happen. It could be sports, it could be not. But I think I would just say, like, it's way bigger than you think. Like, there's way more out there. There's so much opportunity. Just wait. Just be patient.
Like, the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
Literally, like, there's so much out there.
is.
There's so many, even just like there's people that you haven't met that you're gonna love. There's places you're gonna go that you would never have gone to that you're gonna love. Like, there's so much out there. There's so much life. That growing up in this tiny little country in New Zealand, I was kind of like, ooh, is there? What's going on? Like, and I would just be like, patience.
Yeah.
Patience, young one.
Patience.
That was like my little pep talk before you girls came in. I was like, I'm from a tiny country town in the west of Ireland, and I'm about to do this podcast with you two girls.
Yeah. So random. Yeah.
Like, if I went to Little Hazel there, she'd be like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah.
But yeah, so as well as that, like, you had spoken about your dad, but which is amazing, like, to have that figure in your life to inspire you. But what women have inspired or shaped you into who you are today, and what did they teach you, if you wouldn't mind sharing?
I think my biggest female role models have come from my teammates. Yeah, I think that like my teammates have showed me kindness in places I didn't think existed. So I think that the sisterhood that you gain from being a professional athlete, or just even in community sports, or when I started out playing, like the companionship and the support and the kindness I've gotten from my teammates throughout my career, but especially the important moments, my lowest moments, my teammates have always been the one to pick me up. So I think the women that have shown me and inspired me the most are the ones that I go to work with every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I agree with that, and I'm going to add on. I would say honestly, I know this again sounds really cliche, but my mum to me is very inspirational. She doesn't have any background in sports whatsoever. Well, she's definitely going to listen to this and be like, I used to swim when I was in high school. But I think having another woman support you and instill confidence in you, there's just like nothing better. And I think that goes, to what Anneli's talking about with teammates, because I've had the same experience with teammates as well, where I've literally been like, I couldn't be worth less, and I've had teammates that have been like, you're incredible, I'm going to carry you through this part of your struggle. And I think my mum has done that for me my whole life. Like my mum has given me so much confidence by being who she is, but also I know she's always supporting me, I know she's always proud of me, but as a woman I know she sees me as like, no one could see me better than my mum. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think the image that my mum has of me is such a beautiful thing because it carries me along to be a better person, Like, I think she's just so inspirational, and she's been through a lot in her life, and she's had lots of challenges, and the way she's resilient, I think it's just like, I would love, half the qualities that my mum has, but I think one of the most beautiful things that she's done for me is instill confidence in me. And I think that's like one of the biggest things. We talk about International Women's Day, International Women's Week, month, year. I think if women had more confidence.
Agreed.
Oh my gosh, this life.
Agreed.
I think confidence is the key, and it's so hard.
Yeah.
There's no magic wand to say like, Hazel, you're confident now, Like,
Yeah.
there's no pill, there's no book you can read, there's no podcast you can listen to even. But I think the more we talk about empowering women to love themselves, the places women could go in this world. And I think my mum has been someone from the day I was born, that has been a woman in my life that has been like, you have every reason to be confident because look how amazing you are. And I think that has been such a superpower that I can bring in my life wherever I go.
We need to, like, what we were saying, like, at the beginning, just, like, continue to support and uplift each other, just like your team.
Absolutely.
Group. Yeah. And, I think it's just so important to instill that confidence in one another. Sometimes it can be a little bit, like, tough.
Yeah, and I just want to add too, like, I don't think confidence has to be necessarily loud. I think there's a misconception with confidence where confidence has to be, I have this image and I am this person. I think the most confident people that I know are quietly confident. They're the type of people who wake up in the morning and they look in the mirror and they love who they see. That to me is the goal in life. Confidence is looking at a reflection of who you are and being like, she's her. She's awesome, right? Definitely. And I think so much that the whole kind of conversation surrounding that starts getting murky when you're like, oh, you have an ego and you're arrogant and you love yourself, and yeah, you should love yourself.
Absolutely.
You should look in the mirror and be like,
should.
she's awesome, So I think the quiet confidence is just as powerful as the person who's waving the flag of like, look at me, which again is beautiful. But I think that both are amazing and both should exist, because I think sometimes when you're not the one to raise your hand first or speak out, it doesn't make you less valuable. The value is in how you look at yourself in a mirror and say, I love her.
Facts.
So I guess one question that comes to mind, if someone's listening right now and they're like, what's one step I can take to kind of initiate that quiet confidence?
Confidence.
Who's got confidence?
So I think that this is something that I've worked with my psych with a lot, right? So we're so good at noticing the things that we're not good at, right? And sometimes it's uncomfortable for us to sit there and say things that we are good at. So I think it starts with actually just like writing down 1 or 2 things that you know that you're good at, right? And it can be so simple, right? Like, so for me, I'm not going to talk about my job. I'm going to talk about me as a person. I know that I'm good at talking to people. It makes me uncomfortable to say that out loud sometimes, but I know that I'm good at it. So instead of thinking about like, oh, I know I'm not good in conflict, I'm like, I know I'm good at talking to people. And that's just me recognizing something I'm good at. And over a week, over 2, every time that you think of something that you're good at, write it down. And then it's something that you can reflect back on, you know, like, and it can be small, like, okay, yeah, I'm a good cook. I'm creative. I'm good at giving compliments. I'm good at noticing changes. You know, things, small things like that. I think that will build up over time to you're training your brain to notice things that you are good at and to give yourself a bit of credit. So I think that would be one thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think, that really, like, that was even to me. I was like, okay, I need to do
Yeah.
Hazel's going home and writing down
Yeah.
the things she's good at.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, you like look for more things
Yeah.
you're good at. It's like gratitude.
Yeah, it is like gratitude. It's looking for gratitude. It's looking like it's acknowledging yourself, and over time that will just it'll build confidence that but it's not like actively building confidence. It's just a small step. So it's not like you have to stand in front of a mirror and say, "I love you." Like for some people that's hard. I struggle to look at myself in the mirror and say that stuff. Like I know affirmations are so powerful. I'm not there yet. So this is my step before, I think. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thanks
Yeah,
so much.
that's
I
all
think
right.
That'll be really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, I think I truly, really believe in you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So I also think if you're not feeling really confident in your life, I think, affirmations are great. I think what Anneli just said is incredible because I think it's a really basic tool that you can use in that moment to change something, right? Because sometimes we think really like big picture, macro, how am I going to change my life? How am I going to change the next 10 seconds and feel a certain way? I think is so powerful. And I also think sometimes it is really important to pause and see the people you surround yourself with. Look at the friends you've chosen, look at the relationships you've chosen, and look at these people and see if you want to be like them. And I think that's a really important part of maintaining confidence because when you surround yourself with people that you admire, it means that they have the values that you want, right? Which means that it is much easier to live in alignment with those values. If you look around you and you see people who you don't agree with in a values way, I think it's much harder to get that reflected back into feeling good about yourself and feeling, true to who you are. So I think really taking time to choose who you spend time with is really, really important as well. Because I think a lot of people, and it's a human need, we want to feel needed. We want to feel validated. And sometimes quick validation is really easy. And other times I think it's better to sit and see who am I spending time with and do they make me feel good? Do they instill me with the value that I want to carry through life? And I think that's a really tough question. Again, it's not easy to do, but I think it's really important, especially as women, and especially when you get into relationships with friends and with, people that you're romantic with, like, do they reflect who you want to be? Yeah. And that's hard. That's hard, but I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, I agree. And do I grow here or
Yes.
do I go back? I think it's so important.
Yes.
And if I fall, will they push me?
Yeah.
All these things. I think as well, like, I really want to be a mother one day. And I'm like, would I be proud of the circle of friends that I have
love that.
for my kids?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this conversation. I do have to unfortunately wrap it up. I really wanted to know if America was like High School Musical.
Kind of. No. Kind of.
That was like my dream.
Kind of.
No.
Not college, but high school.
High school, sure.
High
Yeah.
school. They had
Sure.
lockers.
Yeah.
No,
I know what. Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Not university.
Not
I think
university.
high school.
Like
Yeah.
holding back that question, but I just really want
Yeah.
All singing on the quad.
fun times. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap that up. So everyone that's listening here, If something you heard today resonated with you, we encourage you to carry it forward, start a conversation, and share this episode with a woman who inspires you. Reflect on how you can help balance the scales, whether that's through support, advocacy, or simply showing up for the women around you. Thank you for joining us for this conversation, Teagan and Anneli, and for both your advice, experience, and perspectives that will impact women everywhere. Check out Perth Lynx and these ladies if you're interested. Do you have any handles or where?
I do. I'm just Anneli Maley on Instagram. I be posting. I be posting.
And yourself, do you have anywhere?
No, I'm not really.
Yeah.
Not as good about my brand.
She's working on it. She's working on it.
I encourage you to listen to other episodes in these series or head to our socials at Happiness Co Foundation to see the events currently taking place this week. And see you on the next one.
Bye. Thank you.